Hi, everyone. I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsor, Bako Diagnostics. Early detection is the single most important factor in improving patient outcomes. The Bako Diagnostics team recognizes how impactful a podiatric physician can be and remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing conditions of the lower extremity. Thanks to the unwavering support of their clients, Bako Diagnostics has been able to give back to the podiatric community for 16 years by providing podiatric educational resources and advocating for the position. Bako Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. If you have not yet had the opportunity to utilize Bako Diagnostics services, get started today by sending an email to corporaterelations@bakoddiagnostics.com. The first 50 podiatry offices who request a starter kit will receive a Dean's Chat mug. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I am the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and co-host for the Dean's Chat podcast. Joining me again is my co-host, Dr. Joanna Richey. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
I am doing great. Kind of some of our last recordings before the holidays.
That's right. We're getting ready for the wind down and then the opposite wind up of all things holidays. So how's your holiday experience been going?
Very good. Yeah, we've got one of our kids in Denver with 3 grandkids, so we're going to see them, but we're going to have Christmas here in Phoenix. How about you?
Yeah, we are staying local, and it's just a whirlwind of fun. This is the best phase of life, in my opinion. So I'm leaning in hard to all things 7 to 9-year-old.
Oh my gosh, that's fabulous. Well, yeah. Joe, we have a phenomenal episode today. Our guests are from the Rosalind Franklin Scholl College of Podiatric Medicine, and both of our guests represent the American Podiatric Medical Students Association. I'd like to introduce from the class of 2028, Hanna Shawabkeh. Hanna, welcome to Dean's Chat.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And also from the class of 2028, I'd like to welcome Emaan Khawaja. Emaan, welcome to Dean's Chat.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. You know, usually in Dean's Chat, we are informal and go first names, but with students, let's just keep it with Dr. Richey, Dr. Jensen, and we'll get it going.
Sometimes we slip up because we're human and we're used to creatures of habit, but we'll do our best to maintain our professional decorum. I'd love to start, though. We love hearing from students about your background, how you got interested in podiatry, where you did your undergrad and what you got your degree in, because a lot of students, as they're starting to find out about what podiatry is, some students may feel like, oh, well, I didn't get my undergraduate degree in X, and therefore maybe I couldn't go to something like this. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you went to school, your degree, and then how you found out about podiatry? And Hanna, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I am from Chicago, Illinois. I did my undergraduate education at Loyola University, Chicago. I also did my graduate degree work there as well. Both of them were in chemistry. So I was kind of already on the pre-med track when I was starting, but I didn't discover podiatry until I was actually in a podiatrist's office and I had my own problems. I'm an avid volleyball player, so I'll just say that now. So I like playing. I play a lot, probably at least 5 hours a week. But I started having foot problems, and the more that I was playing, the more I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. So I went to a podiatrist's office, and I have bilateral bunions, and I ended up doing a Lapidus on one of them, and immediately had like pain relief months later, maybe not immediately, but months later. And I was just able to play again without pain. And I think that for me was like the selling point, that I could, someone can come to your office, be in all this pain, and then leave months later and just do what they love pain-free. And I think that for me was kind of what sold it.
Oh, I love that. It's so humbling to be a patient sometimes. But certainly being able to see that trade-off on, to your point, maybe some temporary surgical pain recovery, rehab, but with the long game of being able to do the things you want to do without pain and being able to provide that for your patients is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Emaan, how about you?
Yes, so I am from Dallas, Texas, and I went to Texas A&M University in College Station for my undergrad. Over there, I majored in biomedical sciences, and then I minored in public health and psychology. And then I was already obviously on the pre-med track as well, but I took a gap year where I shadowed at a podiatrist office who is also a Scholl alum. His name is Dr. Philip Parr. And through that is where I was able to get my interest in podiatry. It was already sparked at that point, but it was kind of deepened when I was shadowing him. I used to see various kinds of procedures, and um, I would see a variety of patients come into his office, ranging from amputees to bunionectomies or anything of that sort. You know what I mean? So I just liked seeing that diverse population of patients, and I thought this was probably something that I would be able to enjoy throughout my life.
Oh, I love that. What was it that sparked you said once you started to shadow, you were already a little sparked, the curiosity part. What
Yeah.
initially, how did you find out about podiatry?
So I was actually a family member of mine had podiatric issues, and I was in the hospital with them. And I didn't really know much about this field. And then I was speaking to their physician, and I realized, wait, this is also like very interesting. So that's where it sparked. They were an amputee as well. So I was very intrigued about what I saw, whether it was like the wounds itself or just the interactions between the patient and the doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question for each of you. It's a little bit different. Emaan, I wanted to ask you about the psychology and public health aspect of your training and how that's kind of transitioning or translating into becoming a doctor. What are your thoughts on that? Because I often wish I had gotten a psych degree.
Yeah, I think it's a good I personally think combining those two minors was a very good idea because as a physician, you not only just treat your patients, but you analyze them psychologically. You kind of, pick up on their social cues, their verbal cues. So you want to have some sort of background in that. At least I believe one should because you can get a lot of information out of a patient just by what their behavior is versus what you just see on the physical patient. Then the public health, I mean, we see different kinds of diseases and um just variants. Like for example, recently, COVID. We see like different kinds of diseases coming in and out of the country, and you realize that staying up to date on things like this, you would have to be able to one, stay consistently on top of it, but also be up to date with all of the changing rules and regulations. So I think a combination of those two degrees kind of really helped me. Well, I think it's helping me in my like clinical field as well right now.
It's fabulous. And, being an APMSA, Dr. Tower got her public health master's degree at Dartmouth. So there's a lot of connections there. And then, Hannah, I wanted to ask you specifically, after having surgery and having your bunion fixed, did you also have an opportunity to get out and shadow after the fact, or did you stay with the same doc? How'd that play out for you?
Yeah, I definitely did. I got to shadow the surgeon who performed my surgery. And I just followed through with that. I got to see the patients, got to see a bunch of different surgical cases. And I just, just that recurrent theme of healing, right? That's like what medicine is all about. And I remember there was a patient specifically, and she was coming, I think she had a gangrenous toe, and her main concern was that she wanted to dance at her son's wedding. And, it's like the little things that we might take for granted is what our patients are coming in for. And I think that having seen those things during my shadowing experience really did solidify that I wanted to go on this route.
That's great. How long did it take you to go from surgery to playing volleyball and not thinking about your foot anymore?
I will say, don't they say doctors make the worst patients?
True.
So I think 2 months out, I was immediately, that was my first question. I think any athlete, any that gets surgery, their first question is, when can I get back to playing? So that was definitely my first question to my surgeon. And I think about 2 months in, I was back on the court. I think I should have taken a little longer, but you know what? I couldn't wait.
That's great. Great stories. Thank you.
It's so humbling to be a patient, and that those experiences, Hannah, will go with you as you help relate to your patients and have those moments of empathy too. Like, I know this is hard. Like, I've been through it, I lived it, but this is why it matters, and this is what I'm worried about for you specifically. So it's wonderful and terrible sometimes to be a patient, but it's also wonderful because it really truly gives you that empathetic perspective that only going through something sometimes can provide. I'd love to get a little information from each of you as we are talking a little bit about what it's like to be a podiatric medical student, as we start talking about empathy. When you were going through the process of figuring out what you wanted to do, is there something now, knowing what you know now as a second year student, that you wish you would have known prior to starting school? Any advice that you might give an incoming student? What maybe surprised you about podiatric medical school? Something along those lines. Emaan, we'll start with you.
So one piece of advice I would give somebody coming into podiatry would be come in with an open mind. Because a lot of times when students come in, they don't realize um, what because podiatry is a very small field, and no one really knows about it, so they don't necessarily realize what they're getting into. Um, because we are surgeons at the end of the day, and it's important to view ourselves as that right from the beginning, because essentially you are operating on a patient and their lives are in your hands. So when you step into the first day of classroom, you are coming in with a clinician's mindset. It's not just studying, it's not just reading books. You have to be able to apply what you're learning and see yourself as a clinician when you are studying and when you are reading all this information that is coming at you. So I think that's really helped me stay grounded too, because it helps me like see my end goal versus me being in the moment, because it can become overwhelming just as a student. So that's something I would say, come in with that mindset, but also help you stay motivated.
When things start to get a little overwhelming, what are some of the ways you found that have been helpful to kind of cope with that? Because you're absolutely right. It is
Yeah.
a student is an overwhelming experience. There's so much volume of material.
Yeah. Um, Coming in as, I would say, you should, one, surround yourself with positivity. Make sure you have people around you that support you and bring out the best in you. Make sure to stay connected with your family. They you can have days where you're just studying in a room alone. So who do you talk to? You have family to talk to, or find a hobby. Find a hobby outside of school, because I know a lot of, like Hannah here, she plays volleyball outside of school. That will definitely keep you separated, keep you have about like let you have a balance between essentially work and school and then your interests. So that's one thing I would take away from it.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to start thinking, I've only got so much time. I've got all this material to study. I'm going to cut out all the fun stuff. And
Yeah.
while there needs to be some appropriate pruning and,
Mhm.
framing of time, like how much time you're going to spend on each thing,
Yeah.
eliminating the things that do build joy into your life is not the way to do it. So thank you for sharing that, because it's so easy, I think, sometimes as a student to just be like, oh, okay, I'm just not going to go to the gym anymore. I don't have time for that anymore. I'm not going to, go do this social thing that I do with my friends anymore. And you need to find the ways that you can build that in a reasonable and healthy amount of time to not overtake the time that you need to study. But figuring out that balance is different for everybody. So thank you for sharing that. Hannah, how about you? What were some things you wish you knew prior to starting medical school?
I wish I was kind of like, I don't know what's a good way to put it, but I wish there was just more awareness about podiatry in general. I quite literally like fell into it, and oftentimes the people I speak to, either like Iman was saying, like they have a family member, or they themselves have fallen into it. Um, I think there's a lot of parallel with medical students and MD and DOs, and I think a lot of people try to drive like a division, and I think I wish I knew that I feel like sometimes we're treated as like a separate, we are specialized, but we are physicians at the end of the day. I have a younger brother who is in medical school, and he had sent me a text the other day, and he was like, "What is pseudo hypoparathyroidism?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we just learned about that." So it's like, even though he is in the MD route and I'm in the DPM route, we are still learning the exact same things, and our field is just more specialized to the lower extremities. And I just wish that there was more like awareness about that and more positivity surrounded around it. Because coming into this field, like, I was confident that this is what I wanted to do and I had a lot of interest in it. But then, you start um, kind of like, there's just these divisions and you're kind of just sitting back like, okay, why am I being treated differently? But, we're learning the exact same thing. But I would say, like, my advice is like, this is the route you've chosen, you've picked it, and just do your best at it. You're going to hear a lot of different things. You're going to hear people saying a lot of different things about podiatric physicians, but at the end of the day, like Emaan was saying, like, you have a patient's life in your hand. You have the knowledge, the tools, the clinical and surgical skills to essentially heal a patient, and I would just say hone in on those and learn as much as you possibly can with the condensed amount of time that we have.
Absolutely. And to your point, being able to specialize right off the bat, like, we know what we're going to be when we graduate podiatric medical school. We will be podiatrists. And it's hard, I think, for some people. They don't understand when you go into traditional MD or DO medical school, you don't know what kind of doctor you're going to be. You're not guaranteed anything in terms of, you may want to be a cardiologist, but you don't match into cardiology. And so some of that, again, some students, that's exactly what they're interested. They don't know, so they want to go through that experience. But others really like this. They know what they want to do. You went through it. You're like, I've seen this. This is what I want. And so to have something that provides that as an opportunity, to your point, is one of the things that Dr. Jensen and I have also been very passionate about. People just don't realize that this A is a separate pathway, or B is actually a pathway at all. And so figuring out how to at least just give people the information. And to your point, there's a lot of information out there about medicine in general. And so, I love both of your positive spirit, the power of positivity. It really is true. The people that are happy and doing work that they love, they're getting better. They're becoming more present on the internet. But, a couple of years ago, perhaps when you guys were looking, they weren't as present on the internet. And so now I think there's been a good positive shifting in some of the rhetoric and the information that you have available. So thank you for sharing that.
That's
Jeff, your
interesting.
thoughts?
It's a lot there, right? One of the things I always mention is when I interface with students, either in interviews or at universities before they're trying to figure out what they want to become, they don't even realize that podiatry is a separate path. It's a separate application process. It's just a whole new world to them, which, to your point, Hannah, if the world knew about podiatry, we wouldn't have to explain it to them. And kudos to APMA. They're working hard to do a branding effort too, so the world knows what podiatry is. I mean, ironically, even when I was a student, a lot of people, are like, "Well, I didn't know about podiatry until I had my foot worked on, or my grandma went to a podiatrist, or my parents." So some things don't change. But Emaan, I loved your statement. Surround yourself with positivity. That's true in anything, any undertaking that takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of camaraderie that goes into that. And the only way you're going to accomplish great things is to be positive and be around positive people. So that's great. So with that in mind, my turn, right, Joe?
Yep, your turn.
Okay. I'd like to ask each of you, what was an inspirational experience that you've had outside of things we've discussed? Hannah, I know you had your footwork down and it turned out great. But what was inspirational and makes you excited about podiatry going forward? Hannah, you can go first on this one if you'd like.
Yeah. Sorry, is your question like before coming into podiatry?
No,
or-
it's just about now. I mean, what's inspirational? What are you looking forward to in the profession in
Yeah.
the upcoming
So
year?
I had the opportunity to get involved in research this past summer, and I actually attended a conference, APHA, in November, and all of that, like that entire experience, was so inspirational because I got to see my work presented. I presented at APHA, and just to I presented about transmetatarsal amputations and Achilles tendon lengthening. And all of that was just inspirational to me, like thinking about ways that we can use research and essentially help patients heal, right? And at APHA, one of the biggest conferences, I got to learn about so many things that I didn't even think about, and podiatry related and non-podiatry related. And I think that all of that just really inspires me for the future. I am hoping to get involved in more research in the future, and even just, yeah, it was just a great experience. All of that was honestly inspirational for me.
Well, it's so interesting because to get optimal patient outcomes, it's a multidisciplinary effort. Everybody does what they do best to help the patient get better. So whether it's vascular surgery or infectious disease or podiatry, everybody's part of the team. So that is great. That sounds like a wonderful experience. Emaan, what are you excited about for the future? And anything like a inspiring story that you might have?
One thing I always have when I was shadowing during my gap year, I took this one story with me, and that's what really inspires me throughout this entire journey is, you know, uh, when we were seeing patients, we had this one amputee, like once again, it stems back to like whatever sparked my interest. He was diabetic, and then gangrene buildup and everything of that sort. The progression. But it was he he wanted to be able to walk again. Essentially, it wasn't a full amputation, so there was hope. And I was there for a few weeks, and then I saw that eventually, after all the healing had occurred, they were able to build him new shoes. And so he was able to get back out there. He was able to work again, provide for his family, help take care of his kids. He essentially just got his life back together, because being sick for so long, you kind of start feeling, we know how patients can start feeling at a certain point. And so seeing that like joy spark back into his eyes really really inspired me. And then I kind of just carry that story with me in hopes to be able to do that with other patients in the future as well.
It's a great story. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and those are such powerful stories, right? Something as simple as I just want to be able to walk again, and the kind of impact that you can have on someone's daily life, being able to walk without pain, being able to go back to employment, to provide for their families, dance at their child's wedding. These are things, and this is partly, I think, Dr. Jensen, why we also have so much satisfaction in the world of podiatry, being able to share in those moments and provide meaningful impact for patients, that then they get to come back and show you the pictures of the wedding and have these shoes that allow them to do the things that they need and want to do for, again, very realistic goals. And it's such a humbling thing to be a part of that story and adventure for patients, but also such a rewarding moment that not every field gets that kind of feedback from patients and in such a beautiful and positive way. So thank you both for sharing that.
We all know that early detection is the most important determination in improving patient outcomes. Bako Diagnostics remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing lower extremity pathologies. Bako Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet.
I'd love to, while we're still talking a little bit about some of the school things, I'd love to hear about some of your professor shout outs or inspiring professors that you guys have. We'll do a shout out from our sponsors in just a moment, but if you can talk a little bit of maybe just one professor in the didactic kind of basic science, and then one in some clinical exposures that you've had. Hanna, we'll start with you.
Sure. So in terms of didactics, I'd probably shout out Dr. Grummett for lower extremity anatomy. I think that class was by far probably my favorite P1 year, because every single thing that we were learning in words we could see on cadavers, and that was probably the best experience.
Yeah, lower extremity anatomy is so fun. How about you, Emaan?
I think I would shout out Dr. Talbot. He was our structure and function professor, and during P1 year as well. I think with that class, it kind of really helped me hone in down on just the basics and understanding how to understand something. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think like going through that class and basically being able to understand how to study just I was very appreciative of that. So
Yeah, is this like a cellular, molecular biology,
it's like,
biochemistry kind of
yeah,
course?
it's
Okay.
like histology and then physiology is mixed into it.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. And then Emaan, clinical professor, and we'll go back to you, Hanna, for clinical, because I realized I only got one and I got really excited. So go ahead, Emaan. How about a clinical faculty?
I liked, so we had Dr. Klein at the beginning of the year. She taught sports medicine. I think I just liked her teaching approach. She's very interactive and she really woke you up if you were really, like it was just, that kind of experience was just helpful for me in terms of learning as well.
Yeah, it's hard to sit and listen to a lecture for 8 hours a day. So anyone that can be engaging and fun to be around
Yeah.
is always a pretty impactful
Yes,
instructor.
definitely.
How about you, Hanna?
I'd have to shout out Dr. Evans. He is our radiology professor, one of them. And I just love radiology because it's cliche to say, but a picture, you can get 1,000 words from a picture. And I think that it's just amazing. You can look at an X-ray, you can estimate the patient's age, you can figure out how they sustained the injury that they did. And I think that's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, we'll take a quick break to hear a shout out from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back.
These are great answers. When we come back, we'll be asking you about APMSA and your involvement, and it'll be good. I'm also going to give a Professor Dean shout out for Rosalind Franklin. So
There you go.
all right, Joe.
All right, well, we're back. I heard Jeff or Dr. Jensen, you have a dean shout out that you wanted to do.
I do, and a president shout out.
Oh.
And I'm gonna take you back 25 years. I was in practice in Colorado, and your president, Dr. Albright, I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Albright, and he was president. I think Dr. Bill Todd was dean. They called me and they said, would you be interested in starting a residency program in Colorado? And if you are, the Scholl College would provide residency genesis funds. So if you get an opportunity to rotate in Colorado and you go to the North Colorado Podiatry program, that program wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for Scholl College and the pay it forward attitude that Dr. Albright and Dr. Todd had. And so I always have a warm spot in my heart for Scholl because they enabled us to start a residency program. And a lot of students have benefited from doing clerkships, but also from doing the residency program. So that's my shout out to Scholl.
Love that.
All right. So let's talk about APMSA for a minute. That stands for the American Podiatric Medical Students Association. Both of you are representatives of the Scholl College. And I just wanted to find out how you got involved and what your current responsibilities are, because it's a big job. On top of the curriculum, you're also a student leader in our profession. So Emaan, if you wouldn't mind starting, please tell us about your experience with APMSA.
So I serve as the second year delegate for APMSA for Scholl College. Honestly, the way I found out about APMSA was, the third year that we have right now, she talked to me about it. And I also attended the info sessions. And I think I just liked the whole message behind APMSA. So I decided to, give it a try, and it worked.
And what do you do as a delegate then?
So as a delegate, you attend these conferences. These past 2 years, and I think previously I've been through ACFAS. And you essentially kind of just sit down and with all of the delegations from all of the different schools, and you kind of go through the policies in APMSA. You talk about boards, you discuss changes that need to be made, and anything of that sort.
Well, very good. Hanna, your APMSA experience, how'd you find out about it?
So I actually serve, I will be stepping into my role fully in January, but I'm currently the president-elect of IPMSA, which stands for the Illinois Podiatric Medical Student Association. And so by default, I'm also part of APMSA's president committee as well. So this will be my first conference that I attend in February with Emaan. I am looking forward to it, and I'm excited.
So you're both going to Las Vegas for the ACFAS annual meeting?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, we'll get to meet you in person there. I look forward to that. All right, Joe.
Yeah, so I'd love to piggyback on that. Have you guys So Hannah, you said this will be your first conference that you've gotten to attend. And did I hear it's also yours, Emaan, or you did get to go last year?
I did go last year, yes.
You did go last year. Okay.
Yes.
What is it that you find valuable on that meeting in person? I have my own strong feelings about in person versus virtual, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to connect with each other virtually, build things and engage in meaningful conversation. But there's something about in person. What is that experience like for you?
I think meeting in person is a lot more beneficial. I think it's a way for you to actually understand people versus, virtually, yes, you can get a good idea of how the other person is, but I think building a bond and a connection just has to be done personally, like in person. I still have people that I talk to. I've made friends there that I've talked to. I still consistently talk to, since I've last been there, and I plan on meeting up with them again. And even just not even the students that are part of the delegation, I think the residents and attendings that we meet, it's I wouldn't even say as a networking opportunity, but I think it's just a good way to hone in down on how to look at people that we're going to be in the future. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
you kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel, essentially.
Yeah. No, I can definitely appreciate that. Hannah, what about you? What do you find valuable in those in-person connections?
I think the networking is like probably the biggest thing. Like I said, in November, I went to APHA. That was my first scientific conference that I've been to. And I just met so many people from I met students from Barry University, and I met a lot of people. And I think, I always say this, like people talk about networking so much, but you can't get that online. You can, but it's like it's much more meaningful in person and, just putting a face to the name, having a conversation, it's worth so much more than, meeting on Zoom or on FaceTime or anything like that.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing because it's always hard to figure out like what's the balance or what does the future look like and do we need in person? Should we just go all virtual? And I don't think anybody has any of the answers, but I think that the answer is not go all virtual, but it's also not go away from virtual. So it's some kind of new merging and transitioning and offerings in multiple different formats. And so I don't know, it's interesting and it's fun to watch it evolve and see how it plays out. What are your thoughts, Jeff, about in-person connecting and relationship building?
It's hard to believe that it wasn't that long ago, like 6, 7 years ago. We weren't doing meetings like this at all.
Yeah.
It was in person or it was email or phone calls.
Yeah.
So times have changed, and I agree with you. I think we need to take advantage of the virtual environment where it's almost like we're all out having dinner or having a cup of coffee and we can see each other. It's great, but it really doesn't match an in-person experience. Because the meetings are only part of the experience. It's after the meeting. You go out for breakfast, you go out for dinner, you go out for drinks or whatever, and that's kind of when a lot of the stuff gets discussed on the side. And so I think the in-person experience it'll never be abolished or not taken seriously. I mean, unless we have another pandemic or something. But
hopefully we don't have to shutter our doors again.
Yeah. Hey, we get the best of both worlds now, so I think it's great.
Yeah. We'll be more prepared to pivot should we need to than we were the first time.
Well, that's funny because I don't know how it was, you were in college back at the time, but I'll never forget when we started to pivot in March of 2020, we offered the lectures live with barriers and masks and everything. We also live streamed them and we had them on lecture capture. So we had 3 ways that the students could learn, and that met the accreditation requirements of all the different colleges. So we don't want to go back to that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas for sure. What do you think about some rapid fire, Joe?
Most definitely. These are the fun questions.
All right. So
not that they're not all fun, but these are the really fun ones.
Yeah, that's true. So you live in near one of the great cities in the world, Chicago. If you have an opportunity to go down for the weekend, what kind of food do you like to eat in the Chicagoland area? Hannah.
Ooh, you can't go wrong with pasta.
Very good. Emaan?
Well, I'm just gonna give you a very generic answer because I work in Chicago, but deep dish pizza for sure.
Can't get
Absolutely.
away from a staple.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I grew up in Wisconsin, so we'd go to Chicago once in a while, and we had our favorite Italian restaurants, and it was always deep dish or pasta of some sort. So I don't blame you. That sounds great. Joe?
All right. So we always love to hear from our students about, you guys have already touched on incorporating things that bring you joy. So there's a lot of full engagement during the school time. How do you recharge your batteries? Hannah, we'll start with you. What do you do for fun to bring that joy back in?
Yeah, I play volleyball. It's one of my non-negotiables. I do that every weekend. Besides that, I like going to coffee shops with my mom. Actually, we love trying different
Oh, I
coffee
love it.
shops, and I can always have a cup of coffee no matter what time.
Oh, I love both of those things. So I have to ask, are you tall, Hannah?
Um, I think I would say I'm above average. I think the average is like 5'5". I'm 5'7". But my mom's tall. She's 6'2", so
Yeah. All right. See, but you're skilled. I'm tall, but I am not skilled. Volleyball, I love playing volleyball, but I'm terrible. I'm just tall. Like that's all I have going for me. So,
You know what?
um,
Skill, I will just say this to you, Dr. Richie, skill can be acquired. I picked this up about 2 years ago, and compared to where I started to where I am now, two completely different people.
yeah, maybe my basketball coach told me the same thing, and I kind of proved her wrong. So I think there is some kind of inherent athleticism that's necessary, but perhaps I'll have to retry it at another time. Emaan, how about you? How do you recharge your batteries?
Well, I like to do two things. One, explore the city because
Yeah.
there's so much to do here. And
Oh
then,
yeah.
there's always something to do. You just go about, you have time, just go somewhere. And then, two, I'm actually a professional henna artist. So yeah, and so
Awesome.
I'll just do that on like when I have time too, and yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
fun. It's like
fantastic. Now,
therapeutic,
do you ever do it as like a service, as a paid thing, or you just for fun?
Currently it's just for fun. I don't
Okay.
think we
Yeah,
can do it for paid right now. So
that's fair.
yeah, but I do, yeah, I make my own too, so that takes up some time, and then I'll kind of, um, I'll just store them and then I'll use them later.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
All right. So let's flash forward 6 years, and you're out of residency, and you've got a few cases that day. What kind of music are you listening to in the OR? Iman.
I like indie pop, actually. So, my favorite band is Cannons, so I'll probably put them on, and then
Very good. And Hannah?
Bad Bunny all the way.
Bad
that
Bunny, right
too,
on.
that too, Bad Bunny as well.
So
So
you guys
when we
excited about the Super Bowl?
Oh, I
Definitely.
don't ever watch football, but I will be watching football this year.
Yes.
I love it. Oh,
I like
sorry,
that
Jeff.
too. No, that's
Didn't mean to
great.
jump in.
No, I love it. So Joe, you probably found the same working with residents. When it came time for closure, if you speed up the music, they speed up the suturing. It's a little trick.
As long as they don't get distracted by the music.
Oh yeah, you don't
You
want
put
them
on
dancing
some,
while they're doing it.
yeah. There's like a fine line between distracted and like focused.
Well, it kind of reminds me of going to a restaurant. The faster the music, the
Yeah.
faster you eat. So as long
Yeah.
as it's good quality, absolutely. All right, your turn, Joe.
Oh yeah. All right. So we talked a little bit about food. You talked about exploring the city. Um, as a group, as students, do you guys do any events or things out off campus together, either as a campus event or just as a, hey, we want to get together and go out? Do you guys have any city related activities as students that you do? We'll start with you,
Um,
Hannah. Or Iman. Go
I
ahead,
would
Iman.
say,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
oh no, so I was trying to think, but I think we did have I don't know if it was this in the city or not, but it was we had bowling events recently. I'm not sure how recent it was though, where our class went out together.
Bowling is fun for
Yeah.
sure. I'm not a good bowler, but my husband's quite the bowler. What about you, Hannah? Did you have any thoughts about fun
So
city
we're
things?
in North Chicago, so we're not too far from like Gurnee, Illinois. I know that there was a Six Flags trip that they planned, so And Six Flags during Halloween time is a lot of fun. So
Very cool. Yeah.
That's fabulous. So, I also want to do a shout out for your current dean, Dr. Wu. I've had an opportunity to work with her. And Joe, I don't think I ever told you this. We did a research project, and Dr. Wu and I got published in Diabetes Care back in like 2009 or something. It was in the title of the article was "Why is it hard to do the right thing in terms of offloading patients with diabetic foot wounds?" So, if you see Dr. Wu, please say hi for me. All right. Any last words, Joe?
No, thank you both so much. It's so wonderful. Dr. Jensen and I talk about the future of the profession is in such incredible hands. You're both such strong leaders in our profession already at this second year level of your career. And we look forward to continuing to watch you grow. And if there's ever anything we can do to help support you along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. But thank you for your time today in this very busy season of your life, taking the time out to come and talk with us in the audience about your experiences. We really appreciate it.
thank you for having us.
Well, thank you again for making time. We're going to send you each a Dean's Chat mug.
Oh, fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And they're extra big, so morning or evening. And your mom will enjoy drinking coffee out of it.
Thank you.
And to all of our listeners out there, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you get a chance, leave a comment or two. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. Dr. Richey, sorry, I keep mixing it up, Joe. Dr. Richey and I will continue to bring not only leaders in podiatric medicine, but future leaders in podiatry like Hanna and Emaan. We appreciate, again, you taking the time. And until next week, everybody, cheers.
Cheers.